Oh, she's sleeping. Oh, okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with panel introductions. So let's kick it off with Alan, if you want to quickly introduce yourself to the group.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Alan Hinton. I serve as the Associate Director of Maintenance Operations for Housing at UNC Charlotte.
Thank you. Dr. Becky?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Becky. I serve as an associate director at the University of Georgia.
Great. Suzanne?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Price, and I'm the Assistant Vice President for Auxiliary Enterprises at Clemson University.
Excellent. Amber?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amber Dees, and I'm the Director of Residential Living at Clemson University.
Excellent. Thank you. And for those of you who may have saw the flyer, Justin Shelley could not join us today. He had a campus emergency that he was dealing with. So he sends his regards, but feel free to reach out to him if you want to hear some more from him at a later time. So for all of you who are in attendance, this session is being recorded, and you can find the recording shortly after this session on our CHO YouTube channel at CHO Connect or at CHO. There's two. So if you follow both, you'll get both. So we're going to kick off the panel today and hearing this words of wisdom from our wonderful panelists. So let's start panel with what are some of your favorite icebreakers or team builders that you have done? And let's start with Becky. You're first on my screen.
Oh my gosh. The funny thing is when I was thinking about this, y'all, I am not an icebreaker, team builder person. It's because I'm a relator. I much rather sit in a small group and let's chit chat and get to know each other. But one thing that we do here that I really enjoy is that we have a set of questions. We do hot seat every year with all of our staff when we rotate throughout training. And then we always do, as part of a team builder, is like our words of affirmation. So throughout our entire training experience, we decorate our bags and keep that as a team builder and really talk through that kind of day to day type things. And then I am a person who enjoys competition. So we will incorporate bingo and we do fun prizes for that, just to kind of get our day started, particularly during the training season. But during the academic year, I'm a big sports person. So my team knows every year before the week before a game, we do a competition. They guess the score of the game for that week, and whoever gets closest to that is going to win a prize. So trying to find fun things that are fun that we do every year that people will enjoy and making the prizes, worthwhile.
Awesome. Amber?
I'm not going to lie, I'm excited about this one. Thank you for letting me answer this question.
You're welcome.
I may be the opposite of Becky. I'm like, let's do team builders. Let's figure it out. Let's hold hands with consent. But the one that is my favorite, it is my favorite because it lands at different audience levels. But you have to know your day and you have to know your people as to whether it'll land. So everyone remembers the name tag, right? The name tag, it would say, hello, my name is, and you'd stick it on your shirt. Well, there's different variation of that. And some of you may have done this before, but you get the blank sticker and you let a person write their name. So there's a little creativity, a little interesting facts about them. Maybe they use their favorite color, or maybe they're an artist and they take time and design their name. But in the middle, it says their name. And then you pick a topic or a category for the corners. Maybe your favorite color, maybe your favorite food, maybe your favorite holiday. But it's like an all-in-one. And then you tie the bow with this event. This is why you have to know your audience and you have to know your day. If it's been a long day and people are in a bad mood, it might not work. But then after you've introduced yourself, my name is Amber, my favorite color is blue, my favorite food is pasta, I then get to show you my favorite dance. And that's why, again, you have to know your audience. Suzanne might not dance with me. Becky,
I'm also not going to let you touch me.
No, I don't touch you. I don't touch you. Put your name tag on. No.
I was thinking you write on people. No. Okay.
Your own name tag, and you put it on yourself, and you describe yourself. This is who I am, and then I'm going to show you my favorite dance. Again, it breaks the ice really quickly. You learn who has moves, who doesn't. But again, what more than to break that ice than to see who's got grooves and who doesn't.
Nice. Love it. Alan, do you have one?
In my 11 years doing this, I don't think I've ever done an icebreaker.
It's okay.
I don't know that the facility staff would enjoy that as much. And I know a lot of my guys can't dance. So so
Fair.
we haven't, I think the closest that we really get to doing that at all is, getting everybody in a room and the summer starts. We have Sherwin-Williams come and do a paint training for our student employees where they talk about different types of paint and actually give them demonstrations on how to paint. But that gives us the opportunity, just to get in a room together where we're not focused on the work yet. So the students can meet each other, our mechanics can meet their students, but also to kind of have fun with it. You'd be surprised how much fun it can be watching someone paint for the first time and do a terrible job.
That's awesome. I was like, yeah, that sounds really fun. Okay. Suzanne, for this one, we'll see if you have one too, and then we'll popcorn to the next question.
Um, yeah, again, I think you have to be a little bit familiar. I did this with my staff. Actually, we had a new person in the group, but it turned out all right. Toilet paper over or under. It leads to all kinds of conversation.
Yes, it does. Do you want to describe that for those who don't know what that means?
Oh, literally. Do you prefer the toilet paper
Oh, you're
over
asking the question. Got it. Got it.
or under? Yeah. And then it really does lead to, oh my God, you're a monster. I can't believe you are okay with it. Or yeah, it's fun. And we refer to it the whole year.
Nice. That's like the is a hot dog a sandwich conversation. Very similar. All right. So next question. When your team is tired and on the cusp of burnout, as most of us are in July and August, how do you help your team prioritize what's most important? Let's start on that one with Suzanne.
Okay, wait. Sorry, because I wrote down answers when they're tired. Okay. I am not a real feely person, so I always would just go back to fundamentally what is our purpose and reminding people of why we're reminding people to think of themselves. Why are you doing this work? And what do you need from me as a leader? I would say, so what do you need to be able to do it, to fulfill our purpose? What can I give you? And it's different for everybody. Like Becky said, I'm a relator, so I would rather get to know people and do things that are meaningful for them, if possible, depending on staff.
Okay, great. Becky?
I think for me, the way that I lead is that I always name it. Like I'm okay to name it in the space. I think we all might know, like, my team is getting ready to transition to RE training on Monday, and we've all been through 2 weeks of pro staff training. Sometimes it can be exhausting in these months because we are sitting in rooms and we're also prepping and there's a lot going on. Um, so, I address it. I also am very um aware of the energy that I bring to a space. So I think just reflecting as a leader, how are you showing up when you're also experiencing burnout or just exhaustion from just the summer is just busy. We all know that. Um, and then I pay attention. I notice small things like, I've spent we all spend so much time with our staff. And to me, it's important that if you notice behaviors that are different than what we would typically see, is just go up and ask the question, like pull someone to the side. And I think a lot of times, particularly our entry level staff, appreciate folks paying attention to when they might be struggling or not grasping something. And then just being flexible and meeting the needs of the staff and encouraging people to take care of themselves. Um, are things that I do, and also just incorporating fun into the spaces that you're in. Like, today we had a 3-hour staff meeting and I did a competition with my team. Whoever could say go dogs the most in like every comment or question got a prize. Like it helps them keep engaged. So you just gotta kind of know your audience and knows what's going to help them stay engaged. And it's busy. We cannot fix the busy in the months of July and August preparing for students to come back. What we can do is add in components of fun and just genuinely care about your people and taking care of each other.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great advice for sure. It is rough, but I think yeah, if you can ever incorporate fun, and we'll talk about that part later. But let's say Alan, let's take you as the last one.
For us, I think, once we get to this point in the summer, the student employees that we have working with our staff have spent the whole summer painting and helping move furniture and things like that. The ones that are still here and still like us are ready for opportunities to do larger things. And in a lot of ways, they're in competition to, be the ones that we keep for fall. So once we get to this part of the year and everybody's tired, we really start trying to look at, okay, what can we delegate? To our students that they don't, that our staff doesn't necessarily have to do everything themselves. Being able to show a little bit more trust in those students also kind of empowers them as they're getting through the end of summer and getting into fall. But it also helps our guys to relax because for us, from here till move-in, there's not really going to be any vacation time or anything like that. So anything that will give them downtime is going to be helpful. But also, on that note, just looking at what needs to be done before people move in versus what we can get away with after move in. If there's, stuff that needs to be done in mechanical spaces, behind the scenes places, or, in the hallways, like painting or things like that, we can get away with to an extent, trying to triage that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, great point. So since Becky brought it up, our next question is going to be, how do you find opportunities to insert pockets of fun during stressful times? And we'll start with Amber.
So this is difficult, right? Pockets of fun is difficult, especially if you're in the middle of a very busy time. Room selection, or I don't really like my roommate right now, Susan, which actually seems to be growing. But Suzanne talked about it, like the over or under with toilet paper. Like, how do you bring it up consistently? So that's one thing that we've started to do here at Clemson. We used to have a very routine staff meeting. So you'd come in, you would talk about the agenda, you would do business, you would do committee reports, you would ask about community updates and things like that. And we felt like we weren't really connecting on development and interest and just passion of people. So some pockets of fun, not just during stressful times, but for us at staff meeting, we started doing things like carved a pumpkin. We've had people build, like Becky talks about competition. We've had people bring Legos and do building competitions, like almost like finding that inner child that lets you kind of like decompress and get it all out, whether it's stress or frustration or it's overwhelmed, just overwhelmingly difficult at the moment. So how do we take it back and be a kid? Um, Other things that our team has done, so I cannot take credit for this, our training team has done this, is they've built in pockets of fun. So whether it's a training schedule, because like Becky, like we've been in about 3 weeks of training. So we've taken 2 Fridays and we did a staff potluck. So the assistant directors and the full-time staff brought in food for the grads, and we played ping pong and we played pool. So we were able to utilize campus resources and not take out of people's pockets. But that time together is important. And so how do we keep building that? As Suzanne mentioned, again, the toilet paper, now we have ping pong competitions and we got trash talking going on. So we've got connections and relationships built that weren't there before.
Cool. Becky, I know you shared one idea, but I don't know if you have others before I move on to someone else.
Yeah, I think at least from like we've said a lot of times, is knowing your audience. So we will do things like stadium tours, like how can you expose staff, especially new staff, to new parts of campus during the day in a fun way, and then just finding opportunities. We tend to do optional socials at night, and even when they're optional, our staff, because they feel so connected after spending all day in training together, will come out and spend time together. But I think some of it is also like, maybe for me, they like to make fun of me because I'm a little bit older than them. And today I said AOL in a staff meeting, and half of them were like, "What is that?" But I think some of it is just like leaning into the humor of the space that we're in, and being that. I don't know, being a human. So the more humor, I think, at least for my team, that I bring to a space, the easier it is to just have fun in the small moments. Like our work is serious, but our meeting spaces don't always have to be super serious. And just incorporating fun comments and things like that does help.
Alan, do you have anything else to add?
So my staff clocks in and clocks out from our office every morning and even before they go to their buildings. So, our pockets of fun sometimes is, making sure that we don't rush out of the building. When everybody clocks in, whatever conversations going on, we allow ourselves just to sit back and joke around. When all the guys get together, there's always some kind of topic. A lot of times it's hunting for whatever reason, but that everybody can just sit down and joke and laugh about. So, trying to take that extra 5 or 10 minutes before the guys go and get started on whatever building we're working in to just joke about hunting and remember that, as serious as our work is, we all have other things that we're enjoying and allowing ourselves to do that together.
That's awesome. All right. So how do you as a leader model resilience when you too are feeling everything that your staff is feeling? And we'll start with Suzanne.
I think it's important, I don't remember who said it, but to own it and to be vulnerable and share. And ideally not get super emotional, but if you do, that's who you are, then just do it. But I think when it comes to you finding a mentor is really, really important, because if things are rough and things are not going well, you can own that, acknowledge that with the team, and try to work through it and come out of it and identify resources to do that. But for you yourself, that's not your dumping ground. So to go find a mentor, a colleague, somebody that you can trust, but that will offer you that individual support.
Becky?
I think for me as a leader, it's just knowing myself well enough to know what I need to recharge myself to be in a good place when I come back to work at the beginning of a day. I think ultimately, particularly as a leader, our team needs us during this time of year as compared to any time of year, because it's so new. We have so many new staff members. We're getting ready to open buildings that might not all the way be ready, and all these circumstances with, we're bringing new students to campus. Is that learning what well-being means for me as a leader and what I need to do outside of the space to practice that mindfulness. And then for me, it is important to show the staff that I don't have to be work, work, work all day long during a training session. Like, we can take a few minutes and be just talking together, or hey, let's go get a coffee and X, Y, and Z. So I also just think it's important to be real with the team. I'm very honest about, like, we know how busy this time of year is, and how are we supporting each other through that? How can we help keep each other accountable to is everyone eating lunch? Because it's wild how many people do not eat lunch. You gotta eat lunch every day. For me, if I'm gonna come back and be in a great mood, right? So for me, I really focus in on taking care of myself and showing my staff that it's okay to prioritize yourself, and how can us as a leadership team, or whatever that look like, be here to support you in doing that as well, and vocalizing that so that they know it is okay.
Amber?
I'm gonna be Becky's hype woman. Like everything, um, what I have listed is to listen. So like, yes, my staff, I don't know about other staffs, but they always look at my calendar. So they know when I'm triple and quadruple booked, and so they know when I'm busy. But I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Like, what's going on? So listen is always very important. um, Role modeling. So there are times that we also do some developments, but it's after hours, and I need to go home. I have some at home responsibilities, and so I share. You're really important to me. I wish I could be with you. Maybe next time I can, but I've got X, Y, and Z I've got to take care of. Um, and then the last one is just encourage from me. Like, you got this. We got this. I don't know when it's going to stop in my mind, but I'm optimistically hopeful, like for all things. And sometimes it doesn't work out. But I'm like, we got this. Yes, move-ins that X many days away, and the furniture hasn't arrived yet. It will. It's going to. And if not, you know what? Then we'll have more space for people to stand in the room and be at the first floor meeting. So I don't know. Again, I'm just going to hype up everything Becky said.
Alan?
I think, kind of to play the echo game, I think a lot of it is being authentic. Being, on the ground with the guys and letting them know, I'm just as tired as you are, but trying to make sure to continue to or keep the guys focused on the long view. For us, we've got 15 buildings that we're turning every summer. And when we get to the end of it, being able to say, hey, we've done 13 or we've done 12 or whatever the case may be. Like I know we're tired, but we literally are at the end of the tunnel. We can see the light. So just trying to keep everybody motivated to just get to that last point. And knowing that once movement gets here, that's the last hard thing for us and then slow down.
For sure. And I know a couple of you alluded to this, but what are some of your favorite self-care practices to help you or your team recharge during August craziness? Let's start with Amber.
This is a new answer for me. I never did this before, but before move-in comes, I recharge early. So the weekend before move-in comes, I don't do anything. I'm at home. I'm doing whatever I want to do to relax, and I'm encouraging the team to do that same thing. We try not to have them prepare for move-in on Saturday and Sunday, meaning like don't work. If you want to hang out with people socially, absolutely. But don't be checking buildings, don't be doing that things. There's time for that. That's a new practice for me, and it's worked, right? I get my vitamin C, I take my electrolytes, I do all the things, and I sleep. And then something we do as a practice is we immediately encourage time off. We immediately encourage take time off. I know you don't want to. I know you need to be here for your residents. We do it in a staggered fashion, but recharge, re-energize.
Suzanne?
As a Gen X person, this is really hard for me. I will fully admit. I looked at it and said, "Oh God, self-care." Um, but honestly, I'm really fortunate working with Kathy Hopgood. She always says, "Be where you need to be." If I have to send her a text and say, my child's having a meltdown and I need to deal with him, she's like, you be where you need to be. So I think to be able to do that, you have to have trust with your team. They trust you, you trust them. It can take some time. I also may be different here, but sometimes I question the need for all hands on deck. I think sometimes in some situations, it's just always been that way for this event or this program or this whatever. Um, Even moving maybe, depending, on shifts and things like, does everybody have to be there all the time? Can we be more efficient? Can we identify ways to help preserve people's sanity and their physical and mental and emotional well-being? So maybe not, but I would challenge us to always think about that. Do you really need that?
Mhm. That's a great point. Yeah, for sure. Becky?
I think really just echoing all the good things that were shared. I know for me, it's always important to encourage the time away. And for everyone, everyone's going to recharge differently. Some folks being away is going to not recharge them in a way, but being time in their office and having space. So being mindful of when is our first staff meeting? What do we need to talk about? So I think some of it for me, the way I practice self-care, because I know if I'm not planning ahead, I will be stressed. So my self-care is knowing that I need to plan ahead and anticipate the needs of my team during the weeks after move-in. And then just remember we're all human. Like, after move-in, I'm going to I'm hitting I have two concerts after move-in. Like you gotta know and encourage your team. Wesley knows I love a good concert. But I for me it's just like doing the things that bring you joy and talking about that in spaces when you feel comfortable. And you might be surprised just how many of your staff feel energized by those conversations and feel a sense of connection to you.
Mhm. Which ones are you going to? You can't leave us hanging.
Oh God. I'm going to, I don't know if anybody knows, but day 26, they were like 2007,
Nice. I'm jealous.
2008. And then I'm going
Nice.
to Breezy Bowl at the end of August.
Awesome. Awesome. Alan?
So I'm weird. I love going to and touring other college campuses. So at least one time every summer, I've gone somewhere. And the good thing about living in Charlotte is I'm a couple hours away from a bunch of places. So I will just take a couple hours, drive to Asheville, drive to Raleigh, whatever, walk around a campus I haven't been to before. It gives me a chance to be outside and keeps me connected to what we do, but in a place that has no stress for me. And it's kind of blackout proof. I'm not taking vacation and being gone for a while, but I get to get away from Charlotte and enjoy something I like to do. And for my staff, I think I try to be really intentional about paying attention to who hasn't taken time at all during the summer. So once we get through move in, it's typically my project manager. I can say to him, hey, okay, you've been here the entire summer, haven't missed a day. Take a week or 2 weeks, go away and just do what you need to do. And I think that that really ingratiates it for them too, so they know that the work they've done is somebody's seen it and appreciates it.
For sure. Yeah, and I think Alan, to build on that, a lot of us are in cities or areas that have multiple universities, and what a great way to take advantage of building relationships across the city or across the state. I know for us, we've retreated at other institutions, so they've hosted us, we've hosted them. So if you haven't done that at your institution, I think that's a great opportunity there that a lot of times cannot be that expensive because your colleagues might be like, yeah, come here, have this room for free and have a seat and do your retreats and do your meetings or whatever. So definitely a good point. Alrighty, what are some of your favorite traditions that you've started for your teams during August? Let's start with Suzanne.
Um, Let me first explain that I don't come from a traditional res life background. I came into housing through residential learning, and we were fully engaged in the training and everything, but it's just kind of a different role. But something I started doing was back when we had money and budget and could spend money. I would take them to dinner, like the first week of classes or just after move in. But we would go to dinner. It became kind of a tradition. We went to the same place. I got the same little room in the back of the restaurant. And then I personally, let me be clear, I would buy champagne and sparkling something for people who didn't want alcohol. And I would get, 12 or 15 glasses. And at the end of dinner, we would do a toast to the year and to each other. Um, and and they loved it. And they even asked, can we do it at the end of the year? So end of the year too, which is fine, as a celebration. But I mean, I think sometimes it's just little things, especially if you have graduate students. They were just overwhelmed that they could do a toast with their director and their staff, and it was a really good.
Cool. Becky.
Yeah, a little bit different now than when I was, in entry level roles. An entry level role, I used to spend just first staff meetings, just having fun, playing games. Uno gets very serious with the RAs and still does to this day. Just enjoying the space together. Now from the position that I sit in, it changes. It honestly, we've been building new traditions as we've gone. We have new leadership here at Georgia, and we have different staff. So some traditions that were fun to staff 5 years ago are not fun to staff now. So some of it is being flexible in that. But we have like recognition dogs that we give away once a week to two different staff members, and they enjoy the traveling bulldogs. Some of it is just showing up with something simple at a staff meeting. All my team knows that after or before moving, they're all going to receive a note. And I think those notes have meant a lot to people, just because you're noticing them during a very busy time. So that's been important. And then we spend time every year after opening, just kind of doing some reflection as a group together and like really refocusing for the year. That to me is a tradition because it is important for all of us to like, okay, we've just moved in thousands and thousands of students. Let's recenter for the year and let's come back to what our goals were that we talked about in our staff retreat. How do we want to build community with each other and really recenter for the academic year? And what does that look like moving forward now that we're not in like the day-to-day scramble of things? And then all of our optional socials, we continue that tradition once a month. We go out as a staff together, whether that's go have ice cream or go to the movies together. We continue to do those things together.
Alan.
We do for on the maintenance side, at the end of the summer, we do a cookout, and I do in quotations because we go through Chartwell's, our catering company, so it's not actually on the grill, but we do a cookout for our student employees. And we take our time. We typically do half-hour lunches, but we'll take an hour, 2 hours to just hang out and enjoy the work that we've done and thank our students. It's usually the last full week before move-in, so it's the last week that we have, all 50 of our students before we drop down to 20 or 25. So it's an opportunity to really enjoy those kids for the last time and say goodbye to some and thank you to all of them. On the housekeeping side, they do a potluck, which our staff loves. They take it really seriously. So, same thing. They'll take an hour or two, do their potluck in one of the buildings and just kick back and have a good time. Um, I love to see, some people get a little competitive with each other, but more than anything, just seeing people get together and just be able to relax for the first time in months, as opposed to working your teams and turning your buildings.
That's so cool. Amber?
So during COVID, we took away a lot of things, as many institutions did. But about 2 years ago, we brought back roll call, and roll call is important for RA staffs. But it's also important for your professional staff too. It's almost like the icing on the cake to say, training is over, it's time to do the work. So what we learned last year is after the roll call, the professional staff or full-time staff also engage and participate, and that becomes their trademark for the year. Okay, so it's almost like their call sign. So that's one of the traditions that we started. Something that was not intentional, and it is completely staff-led. They take our move-in t-shirts and they redesign them. We had no idea this was happening, but after move-in, everybody's worn these shirts. They smell. They don't look the same as when you first got them. They take the time to redesign them. So you might see someone come to an event, and this is just this not work. They don't come to work, but they might and you'll say, "Where did your arms go?" Or where did the side of the shirt go? Or what does your shirt say now? So that is a team thing that is not departmentally supported. It's like we do not encourage that. And then there was one more. What else was there? There's a new tradition. I'm blanking on it right now, but I would say we still got some things to do. Got to know our team and hope to create some new traditions moving forward.
Awesome. And our last question before we go to our attendees, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. I know some of you may have already answered this inadvertently with this one, but what, if anything, have you all done after move-in is over to help your team restart or feel supported? And we'll go with Suzanne.
I will say, I think mostly what I said, the dinner. I feel like I kind of covered it or something specific, but again, I think as others have said, just the reminder of what were our goals. Pull those sheets back out, those flip chart pages for the first staff meeting and say, okay, now, how are we going to get here? Where are we? What do we need?
Helen?
I think, like I said earlier, telling people to take vacation, making sure people know that, yeah, those first couple of weeks after move-outs or move-ins over, we might get hit with a lot of work orders. There might be a lot of work to do, but we'll find a way to survive it. If you have the time and something to do, go do it. Worry about these buildings when we get back. We've done what matters, and everything else we can work for each other.
Great. Becky?
I think two things. It's practicing essentialism, like what in those weeks after move in and just the hustle and bustle of August, like what needs to be done and what are some of those things that can wait. And then I also just think it's anticipating the needs of my team and also what student behavior looks like in those first few weeks. So one example of that is like how we navigate trash here at Georgia for the first week and a half. I have a hold on the trash and students are just getting reminders so that way hall directors really don't have to focus their attention there. So how can their supervisors and myself and the other associate director be able to step into certain pockets to help the staff really form those connections with students? And that's really where the most important part is. So are there some administrative tasks that we can expand the deadline, or we can step in and provide some support. We change a process for the first month to really be able to help our team feel supported so they're not overwhelmed by all the things that have to occur those first few weeks after moving.
Amber?
I echo a lot of what has been said. Alan talked about the flex time, encouraging folks to be out of the office, doing that self-care. That's something to help feel rejuvenated and feel fresh. One of the things that we do to help them feel supported is we always ask for their feedback for how move-in went. You are all at institutions that probably have lots of construction, and so move-in patterns often change, and even simple things such as location of dumpsters. That's really important to community staff. So we do take the time every single year to ask how'd that go? What would you change? And we listen to that feedback and we incorporate it for the next year. Something we started about 2 years ago, and Suzanne might be able to talk more about this, but you know how every once in a while you have a parent to write and say, this was amazing, the person in the green shirt, and you're like, well, everybody had on green shirts. But if we can help identify who that staff member was that received that individual praise or recognition, we make sure they receive it. So we hope that that helps them feel good about the work that they did, that they were seen, and that it mattered to that family and to that environment where that student entered. And then the last thing to kind of start the year on a high is during our first staff meeting, we ask everyone to capture, like, what are your goals for this year? Like, what do you hope to accomplish? We've moved through training. The students are now living here. What are we doing? What do you want to do? What are you hoping to get from this year?
Thank you. All right, attendees, if you have questions, you are free to put them in the chat or just unmute.
And we already
And
have
do that.
one.
Yep,
So,
go ahead, Wes.
all righty. All right, panel. What are some specific examples of things leaders at different levels take off their team's plates in order to focus on training, move-in, Pro-Devo, things, after-hours gatherings, potluck energizers, encouragement, staff takeoff, etc.? Alan, would you mind taking the first crack at that?
If I can unmute. All right. So I've made a point of continuing to do one-on-ones with my staff during summer, even though things are busy, just for the specific purpose of being able to see what they're doing. With my staff, a lot of them are in the field. So if I can do some of the administrative work for them, putting in work orders for work that needs to be done, if we need to get an electrician in or something like that, or being the person who's handling the procurement part of ordering furniture when things come in, or coordinating with our movers when things are getting moved, so that way they can stay focused on the field. That's something that I do. But my boss does the same thing. We still have our one-on-one every other week, and he'll ask me, what is it that I'm doing? What's my most important thing? What's least important? And if there's anything that he can do to take off my plate, he'll do the same thing. So that's the first thing that I think of for that.
Becky?
The first thing that popped in my mind is being very clear about what the priorities might be in the moment. So where does the staff really need to focus their time? And then what am I doing to support them alongside whatever we have to be doing? And I'm a little bit opposite of Alan, which is not shocking. Is that during the summer for my one-on-ones, those change from one-on-ones to really kind of checkpoints, to allow a little bit of time. We have very focused goals for our summer months, and I don't know, the summer just seems to fly by. So I use that one-on-one time with my team a little bit differently, and it just looks a little bit, it's more strategic in how we use that time, because I'm trying to give them time to do all the preparation and also be able to feel like they have time away from work, as well. So, but really the main point there is, I think, just helping prioritize the tasks that need to get done, because sometimes when you have 20 things, it's hard for your team to know where you find it to be most important. So I like to support my team by communicating that.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Two things that I thought about here. One is when I was supervising the director of residential living and residential learning, in particular, a lot of care, a lot of mental health issues were happening. And I went to the director of residential living at the time and said, okay, we've got these three issues. This one went to the president's office. This one is an angry parent that will go to the president's office. And this is a staff that's, maybe an RA that had a suicide attempt. So, I mean, really, we know those things happen. And so I would say, what are you going to give me? And you don't have a choice. You decide which thing are you going to give me to go work on, because you cannot do all of this. They're all important. And sometimes for people who really, are proud and really hard workers, that can be difficult. But I think we got to a place where she trusted me. I said, if I screw it up, I'll come back. Like, I will get help. I will do what I need to do, but let me help. The other thing is, I think sometimes it's just doing the work with the staff. I currently oversee housing operations. And, at one point we had to alphabetize 8,000 key packets, alphabetized. And they were just pretty much in tears doing it in a conference room. And I went over and I said, let me help. And then it just became kind of the joke that nobody knew the alphabet, and we were all exhausted, and somebody dropped like all the S's, and it was a nightmare. But I think if you can do the work with staff, even if it's putting stickers on something, that speeds it up. So they get to go home or do something different earlier too. So just be a willing participant.
Thank you. All I'm thinking is all the last name Smith just piling down and having to go through all those S's. So, all right. Last but not least, Amber.
I think just highlighting, Becky talked a little bit about essentialism. Years ago at Clemson, we read a book about essentialism, and we're very good about reminding people what we are here to do. This is where we can help. This is where we cannot help. And then highlighting what Suzanne said. I'm literally navigating a roommate conflict right now. Got two sides to that story, I'll tell you that. But I had to take it from the employee. Essentially, what is essentialism for my department? Do I need my employee, my team member, to be in a training so that they can better train and teach and be available for what's next? Or do I need them out dealing with this conflict? So I just took it from her. Yeah, I've got to do this. And I think we have to do that at certain points, to help people, including our peers, right? It's not just our team that we have to help understand the priorities and what is our job, but our partners across campus as well.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions they want to pop in the chat? I've been looking. I have not seen anything. I see a thank you panel. Thank you, panel.
Well, maybe while we're waiting, my last question for you all was, what is your last piece of advice, word of wisdom that you want to share that we didn't ask about to get your teams and yourselves through August? Anyone can jump in since I threw that at you.
If nobody's going to start, I'll jump in. I think realizing that the less free time you have, the better it is for you to not be scheduled. If you can find, like she said, pockets of time to have fun, or pockets of time to make sure people feel appreciated, take it. It doesn't have to be your full staff. It doesn't have to be, a designated 30-minute block. It can be 15 minutes and three of the people that just happen to be in the hallway where you are, or whatever the case may be. Take the opportunities that come. I don't feel like things have to be on the calendar, scheduled, because we know we're busy. Sometimes that brief escape from reality is best.
A few things pop up for me. I think you'll always hear me say anticipate the needs. It's easier to plan ahead and support your team. I like to laugh and have fun a lot, so we incorporate that into a lot of spaces that I am in. I like to spend time with the teams that are in my area. And then I also just think, what our experience is and how we might have experienced that as particularly entry level or mid-level staff is different than the generation that we have today. So it's important to be thinking about the generation of entry level staff we have today prioritize different things than maybe we did when we were coming up as new professionals in the field. And how are we listening and accepting that feedback? And I think the more that we're able to be in a space of flexibility to offer change, but also perspective, I find that teams really respond to folks just wanting to hear those things and how can we as an organization make changes that is best for students and the staff.
It's been mentioned a couple of times here, but authentic leadership. I'm authentically myself. I like to tell really bad jokes, but it helps the team relate to me because they know that if they're down, I might tell them a silly joke about cats, or I might tell them a silly joke about bitches. It doesn't matter, but I'm authentically my silly self. The second thing, Becky, thank you so much for just saying that because I was going to say feedback. We have created a staff experience committee because what I believe will work might not. So what is that feedback? What are the teams saying? And at Clemson, we have multiple levels, right? We have graduate students that are 21 years old, and we've got full-time professionals that are 35. We've got to find things that meet all of them where they are and encourage motivation and create, you know, support for all of them.
I am again old school, but will say I believe in the power of a good retreat and going away to celebrate, to plan, to do whatever. And I know it's hard. We have staff who have animal responsibilities, older parent responsibilities, children responsibilities. But if at all possible, if you can make it work, if you have the budget, I always would go find the most quirky big house in the middle of nowhere that I could find. And everybody had to have, I mean, it was like 2-to-1 bathroom. You think students are hard, try planning a retreat for your staff. Everybody wants their own bathroom and they want this size bed and blah, blah, blah. And I gotta have curtains on the windows, all these things. But we had so much fun if you can just get people there and get their minds there. And then just building those relationships can last a whole year. I mean, it really can. Then when times are terrible, you can refer back to the time that Amber made me think I broke her iPhone and I was getting ready to buy her a brand new iPhone when in fact they were all playing a joke on me at the table one night at our retreat.
You're muted, Wesley.
Yeah, I was having mute button trouble as well. I'm looking at the chat and also balancing with the time. We have about 8 minutes. The question we have, with the ongoing changes to state policy and the uncertainty driven by the current political climate, how can we support and motivate housing staff who are navigating increased pressure and ambiguity in their roles, along with everything else they're doing right now? Please feel free to popcorn.
I will just quickly add for this one, in my role now, I deal with this all day, every day. And I like to, one, communicate, making sure people have the most current information possible, but it changes every day. But I like to empower people to, you make the decisions that you know you need to make. If you have any question at all, come to me, go to your supervisor. We will talk it through. In our state, I mean, I could list the topics in South Carolina. You know, we're trying to outdo Texas and Florida right now. So it's just a list of things. And I'll say, we don't know how our general counsel, they still haven't really told us how we're behaving around some of these or what we're going to do to respond. So, but we have to do the work. The work can't stop. It doesn't stop. So figuring that out, I think kind of taking it off of more entry level staff and letting us be the ones who have to figure it out, own it.
Y'all might hear the maintenance staff in the background fixing something on the other end of the hallway. But I think one thing that's worked for us here at Georgia, particularly this past year, is kind of knowing the politics of what's happening and anticipating some changes that we may need to make where we have control over now, where in the future we might not have the control over. So we've made some changes to some of our student staff positions, just anticipating that some of the DEI work was going to be changing and the politics around it. So how can we still serve students in a way we know they need us while also navigating some of the language changes? So I think, from a leadership team level is like, how are we staying up to date what's happening and how are we thinking through things of what might be coming? Where do we have the control over for this? And then also, I just think, I've been helpful for me is being surrounded by leadership that doesn't catastrophize everything because my anxiety will go up if folks that I'm in rooms with are like, oh my gosh, this is, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. So really focusing in on the ways in which we still have the control and autonomy within our work to serve students, because that's the ultimate goal, right? We are here to serve students and the multiple things that they bring with them. So how do we do that and be strategic in those ways that maybe isn't always drawing the most attention, right?
Amber or Alan, y'all want to add anything to that? I know we're getting close to time, so. All right, I'm seeing some. All right, any final thoughts from our guests for our panelists before we adjourn here? As they said, August is nigh, and I know we all have much to do. So, any last thoughts?
I just, again, as the old person, I think I want to, because I can retire in a year. So, I'll have 28, 29 years of doing this kind of work, but in a variety of places, not just housing. And so you start to reflect at this point and say, did I matter? Did I do anything? And you did. You are mattering. You are making a difference. Even the days you absolutely don't feel like it, and you're not getting any recognition or support. You're getting yelled at by a parent. You're still making a difference, and you're doing great work. So just don't forget that, even though I know it gets very, very hard, but you do make a difference.
Mhm. Well, I think that's a wonderful note to end on.
I agree.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our attendees for joining us this afternoon. Good luck with the rest of July and August. And we will see you all for our next Pro-Devo on August 28th, where we are having a collaboration with the CHO Program Committee to help you all write some great program proposals. So look out for the meeting information on social media in a week or two after move-in. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.